Hello everybody, this is going to be a quick video over why we stereotype. And we're only, there's many reasons that you might find out in the literature, but we're going to talk about three of the biggest. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see my slideshow there. All right, here we go. So, reasons why we might stereotype groups. Well, one reason is that by stereotyping groups, we can evaluate ourselves more positively. Now, I'll be talking more about social identity theory in another video, but very briefly, social identity theory basically argues that one of the ways we can draw or evaluate ourselves positively is by associating with positive groups, or at least with groups we like. So, by forming stereotypes of our in-groups that primarily involve positive qualities, we can begin to evaluate ourselves positively. So one of the reasons why we might stereotype groups and attribute positive qualities to our in-groups is so that we can draw some of that positivity for our own self-evaluations. If our group is good, then by association, because we are a member of that group, we may also be good. Another reason stereotypes can be that we might stereotype is because stereotypes, like every other schema, gives us a feeling that we can predict what outgroups will do, or even our own groups, because again, we stereotype our own groups. So when we have a stereotype, we have at least some kind of a working model for what to expect a group of people to do, or members of a group of people to do. And again, like I said, this includes our own group. So, I'm a nerd, right? So I can reasonably expect what other folks in my group would do and what I'm expected to do. All right, and that gives me a degree of certainty. Other groups that I'm not necessarily a member of, I can interact with them or choose whether to interact with them based on my stereotype of that group. Now, again, yes, absolutely, stereotypes can be wrong. But by virtue of having a stereotype, we have, or at least we feel like we have, some understanding of how that group will behave. And so we can make a decision about whether to interact with them, whether to avoid them, if we interact with them, how to interact with them. We can predict the interaction with that group before ever having done it. And that gives us a sense of control. And indeed, control is a sense of control, or a sense of certainty rather, is important for us to have. People do not deal well with uncertainty. It makes them very uncomfortable. And the study of social psychology as a whole has shown all the ways, so many ways, that people try to reduce their uncertainty, especially when they face it. And so one way to reduce uncertainty from the get-go is have a priori expectation about what members of other groups, even our own, might do. Finally, at least the final one we're going to talk about tonight, is optimal distinctiveness. So optimal distinctiveness is this idea that comes, at least somewhat, from self-determination theory. So self-determination theory argues that we want a certain degree of autonomy, a certain degree of belonging, and a certain degree of competence. Well, we want that sense of autonomy, but we want to strike this balance between autonomy and belonging. And that means, striking that balance means identifying or acquiring a sense of optimal distinctiveness, a point at which we are unique enough, but not so unique that we are completely separated from every other group. Now, what distinctiveness is optimal for each individual would vary, but our stereotypes can help us identify or help us achieve a sense of optimal distinctiveness, because the information in our stereotypes can help us identify, well, that's how me and my group, so I belong to a group, are different than all these groups. So it helps you establish both belonging, hey, this is how we are, me and the other members of my stereotype group, and establishing how you and your group are different from outgroups. Again, and so it helps establish that meta contrast principle that we talked about in class, which was simply the idea that it tries to increase differences between groups and increase similarity within group. Again, it helps achieve that optimum distinctiveness. So there we go. Stereotypes, at least 3 reasons people may use stereotypes. Again, in addition to the simple fact that we are cognitive misers, right? We don't have unlimited mental capacity, and so all categories, including stereotypes, help us conserve a lot of that mental capacity for other decisions that we might deem more important. There we go. I suppose that's actually 4 reasons, right? One, the first one we talked about, it helps us feel good about ourselves. It helps us achieve a positive self-evaluation. 2, it reduces our uncertainty because it gives us something, it gives us a series of expectations. 3, it can help us achieve that degree of optimal distinctiveness. And 4, which I threw in there at the end, it helps us, it helps guide our behavior and allows, does that while conserving our limited cognitive capacity. All right, guys, there it is. There are 4 reasons, and I'll have to edit my slide to reflect that. But there are 4 reasons why people may use stereotypes. All right, guys, that's it for this video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. If not, take it easy.